Hello there, Liam from Unique Cars and Parts, and I'm with Steve, my trusty mechanic, and we're standing in front of an Oldsmobile.
Regency 98.
Regency 98, and these cars were built, Steve, between 1977 and 1979.
That's correct.
And this is going to be part one of a three-part series we're going to do, which we've kindly offered to do. And this is, I guess, the before it's restored video, and then we're going to do one that's in between when it's all sort of pulled apart, and then another one when it's finally had to respray and is looking a lot nicer.
What we're going to do today, it's in here today to have some engine work done on it. We're going to put camshaft and a new inlet manifold in it. It's already had work done in it. It's had a set of extractors made, which had to be made because you can't buy anything off the shelf because it's actually a converted to right-hand drive, so nothing fits. So it's all very customised, and this video is going to be before we do the work on the engine, during the work on the engine, and when it's all finished.
Yeah, so we'll make it a three-parter. Now, only built for 2 years, Steve, and I was just reading because of the fuel crisis, but also there's an article that says this was the thinking man's Cadillac.
That's correct. This was the top of the range Oldsmobile, and it was what was the same as the top of the range GM product, as in the Cadillac. So it's very, very well equipped. It's got everything that opens and shuts in it. For its time, it's well appointed.
Yeah, a velour everywhere, a bit like my Mazda 626. I loved the velour back in the 70s.
I did have a Commodore with velour seats, which looked exactly the same colour as that, and I reckon it came from the same parts bin.
Yes, I probably did. Now, there are several engine options available with this one.
Diesel engine, there was a 350 engine in it, and this one's got the big 6.6 litre, which is 403 cubic inches.
And has that got a tyre? Is that known as the Magnum?
No.
No, well, what would I know? So this car, the current owner has had it for how long?
About 3 years now, and the best of our knowledge is there's only two in the country.
Only two, and I assume the other one's been converted to right-hand drive, or
I don't know. It's based in WA, so I haven't actually seen it.
So the appeal of this particular video is going to be really to no one, because no one watches my videos anyway. But if somebody was to stumble across it, it's probably likely to be an American rather than an Australian, because we're in uncharted territory here with this thing.
Just looking on the net, there seems to be a lot of these in the States that people have done up and made into really, really nice cars. But around here, I've actually been out with it. We went for lunch the other day in it, and the number of people come up, just you don't know what it is, and sort of, trying to work out. It's a bit of an odd car to be here in Australia.
And it was only ran for 2 years. Obviously the energy crisis, the cost of fuel going up a lot in the late 70s, that sort of killed this off prematurely, but it was a car that really deserved even more accolades than it got.
Yeah, it was just one of the last of the big sedans before they started to downsize and everything. It's got room, and inside it's just huge. The park, it takes up a bit more than a normal car park. I fondly call it postcode because it's big enough to have its own postcode.
Yeah. Well, it is. Look, I've seen bigger, but it's quite big, and I believe this one it's obviously got some damage here, Steve, to the a light here. But I believe this was very popular in the 70s in America, and it was known as an opera light. Am I right on that?
I'm not sure about to call it opera light, but a lot of vehicles were fitted with it. The lens is missing on that one, but the lens is on the other side, and we're in the process of trying to get some lenses for the front and the rear of the vehicle. But it's very hard to get them because a lot of places that have them in the States don't actually ship to Australia.
There are shipping companies that you can get shipped to a place in America, and then they ship direct to you. Cost you a bit some money, but
we are actually lucky enough that the person who owns us, his daughter, is currently in the States on a secondment over there for a couple more years. So we've got a deadline, but we can get parts sent back out to Australia.
Okay, now I think it'd be an opportune time just to hear it start up, and perhaps if I move the recorder over here, we can get the motor, and it's as it is before it's restored. And sorry, you mentioned how long has the owner owned it?
About 3 years.
3 years, and he bought it from, it's been in a handful of owners by the sound of it?
He bought it in Queensland. Apparently the guy that had it in Queensland had it for a long, long time, and all the registration papers that came with it all were in this person's name and that. So it's been up there and had been used for a while, and then he bought it, but it hadn't been driven for a while, so when he drove it down, of course the water pump failed, and he had a bit of an adventure bringing it back to Victoria.
So he didn't stick it on a truck, he drove it down?
No, he went up there, picked it up and drove it back.
And it was a long drive because the water pump went, and that wouldn't be easy to put a replacement on a car that there's only two of in Australia. How did he go about getting that fixed?
He was stuck. I can't think of the name of the place, but it will come to me. It's an odd town in the middle of nowhere, and he actually took several days to get a water pump shipped up. But also, before he actually left, he had to put a fuel pump on it and another carburetor because what was on there was no good.
So it took him a while to get back, and he's owned it for, you said, 3 years?
Yes, about 3 years.
About 3 years, and he's been obviously decided that it's time for a bit of a resto. Looks like a bit of a Sunday cruiser. I quite like it. Is that rust I can see coming up through here, or is it just?
No, that is rust under there. The top's going to come off, and they're going to get rid of all the rust and everything. So far, it's had the suspension done, the brakes done. It's had a customised extractor exhaust system made because it's right-hand drive, so you can't buy anything off the shelf because they didn't come out in right-hand drive. And now we're about to do some work on the engine just to make it a little bit more sprightly.
Well, to finish this part one of a 3-part series, let's start up the engine and see how it goes.